My name is Marcell Hansen, and you're listening to Small Habits, Big Changes. Let's dive in. I often find myself drawing comparisons to several things in life to automotive. I don't know if my dad would be pleased or displeased, but oftentimes my mind goes to that of maintaining your car. I think it's something that most of us can understand. We can comprehend that it is a necessity, even more so than taking care of our own body. And I think that might just be from exposure. When I was younger, I grew up in a machine shop, so I watched my dad maintain our cars, and so I knew it was something that had to be done. When I was of age and was driving or close to driving, I was expected to change the oil in my car and to change bulbs that had burnt out. And that started probably from just witnessing as a role model, having him do it on the family cars or whatever vehicles were in the lot. There wasn't as much conversation about self-care. Certainly, we had to go to bed at a certain time. I think we might have been encouraged to drink milk, but no, to brush our teeth, to take a shower. That's kind of where it ended. And I think that's really common. It's weird, but it's really common. I think that busy parents that are working might have in the back of their mind an expectation that the school system is going to do a bit of this educating. Maybe the school system, when they are creating their curriculums and really looking at subjects that are of value to teach, if that's even a thing, they think maybe that's being done at home. And there is a big gap between what we're exposed to and what is really considered self-care. Like I said, go back to maintaining a car. We know that we need to change the oil. In fact, even more often than that, we need to fill it with gas. We might need to replace the windshield wiper fluid. We might need to check the air in the tires. We have to renew the insurance. We might need to change a bulb or two. And if something outright happens, we get a flat tire, obviously we need to change that. If the car won't start, we need to look into the battery or the alternator and see where the fault has happened. But when it comes to our bodies, I think we really just assume, and actually now that I think about it, there's probably several people that just assume their car is going to run and they run it into the ground. What I'm seeing with my very own eyes on a daily basis, that people do that with their body. I'd love to change the paradigm, the mental schema around snacking. I know that we have an entire industry. Big food is become little food. A little food version of big food is the snacking industry. Everything's quick, on the go, full of nutrients, can fit in your pocket, throw it in your bag, take it on a hike. All processed food. Despite a small fraction of those manufacturers aimed towards healthy ends, they still are packed full of sugar. They still are overly processed. They still are stuffed into a bag for a very long shelf life, and they have a barcode on them. For those reasons alone, I'd like people to replace what they think those are providing them with whole foods. And I'm not going to go big into food because I want to go back to what I was referring to about changing the paradigm of snacks. It has to be said, I think, because people in general that I encounter, busy people, are big snackers. So replacing those with walnuts, pecans, maybe a fresh piece of fruit. You get more nutrients. They're whole nutrients. You're getting the fiber and the antioxidants from the fruit, depending on what you're choosing. I'd say berries and or an apple, orange, pear. I try and stay away from grapes, and I definitely do. I stay away from grapes and bananas for a couple reasons, but to each their own. Fresh fruit and organic nuts are going to give you way more long-term and short-term net positive results than anything in a package, anything at all. But what I want to get away from is snacks thought of as a food in general. I think the snack movement needs to move into a new category, as in to snack on movement. I know that's a bit of a mouthful. I don't know really how else to say it, but instead of reaching for packaged things, you would reach for a fresh fruit and organic nut. That's in the food category, but I'd like to see us apply this snacking to movement. So if you're sitting around, think about taking a snack on movement, getting up, just a quick one, 20 burpees, 10 push-ups, 30 seconds of wall sits. The idea that we consume so much internally through our efforts of eating and yet neglect so consistently our body's need for movement. Honestly, that is why we eat, is it not? Most people are eating for pleasure. We've gotten way, way off track in knowing that there is a purpose as to why we eat. And if we can remember that purpose, we'll make better choices. We eat so we can move. We can move fast. We can chase what we need to chase. We can run away from what we need to run away from. We eat so we can utilize our brain power. We can compute things. We can perform difficult tasks to completion. We can sit down and perform function or complete a problem using our brain. We can move, walk, run, get to what we need to get to, and return. We utilize stamina. We utilize strength, mobility, agility, balance. All of these things are mechanisms that, in part, are supported, and their efficacy is predicated on nutrition, on proper intake, vitamins, minerals, amino acids. I think if we look at why we're supposed to be eating, to perform, to thrive, to exist, to live, then the logic of consuming things in packages filled with sugar, filled with God knows what, it doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. If you can make sense of it, you may be too far down that rabbit hole. But what makes sense to perform all of those activities, whether mental or physical, is to eat whole foods, unprocessed foods. I think the general public is just overeating on a daily basis. We're blessed with a lot of access to amazing foods, and some of those are genetically modified. Some of those are sprayed with pesticides. Some of those are extracted, brought to a warehouse, and overly processed and packaged. And the reason for that, all this food that's available, it's not because you deserve it. It's not because we have somehow earned the right to consume. It's because it's profitable. And big food has no intention of slowing down in any way, shape, or form, just like big pharma. It really is up to us as individuals to employ and practice common sense, logical deduction, making good decisions, some really great marketing, or a really catchy label or colorful font. It is very big business. And I heard someone say the other day that everybody dies, not everybody lives. And I don't know who said it, who it's quoted by originally, but it's really true. We all, so far, have a finite time on this planet. And I think that everyone has to make the decision as to whether or not they want to embrace fully the opportunities before them or not. I have the luxury of having some really amazing connections with older people in my life. I was pretty close to my grandmother when she passed in her 80s. I was very close to my dad, and he passed in his early 70s. My dearest friend is in his 70s, and I just took out another friend who's here locally who celebrated his 90th birthday last week. And what I know is that as time goes on, as we get into our 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, that more and more the simple things are appreciated. Maybe a good conversation, maybe lunch with a friend, maybe just a smile and a hello and a how are you doing. And I think part of that is perspective. And I think a part of it is just grace. It's knowing how blessed we are and appreciating those things, I suppose, is dependent on being able to experience them, being aware of them, knowing that they're happening, being present in the moment. I don't think we have to wait that long. I don't think you have to wait until you retire to appreciate the simple things love and connection and friends and community and family can provide to you. Sometimes I don't know where the podcast topic will go. Sometimes it veers strangely off course. Sometimes it'll flip a 180. Oftentimes you don't have the opportunity to hear those because they get deleted or stuck in the can and never see the light of day. I feel really blessed in my life to know the people that I know, to be able to spend time with them on a daily basis and to have just authentic, truthful exchanges. I'm super fortunate that I started this journey and committed to this journey nearly 3 decades ago. I think the majority of older people share some level of regret about not taking as good a care of themselves. And from one voice to just 2 ears, it's not too late to change that path, to change the trajectory of your wellness, to change the mental schemas that have kept you in the position that you're in now. And whether you're a little heavier than you'd like to be, whether your knees and hips and ankles and shoulders and elbows are creaking, whether your wrists are sore, whether your vision or hearing is failing you, your hair's falling out, all of those and so many other manifestations are just that. They are a manifestation of an ailing within you. Some root cause is trying to communicate with you. It's your job to be an investigator, to learn what that is and to remedy it. Not the actual baldness, not the actual creaks, not the overweightness or the extra pounds, and not the vision or even the hearing. It's your job to find out the root cause. Because when you establish knowing of that, you can work to actually repair and improve the root. And from that, the branches, the trunk, they will repair. The leaves, the berries, the flowers, they will likely resume. There does come a time, I've said this before, you can discover the root, and if you've neglected it long enough, it's not likely that you'll rejuvenate it enough to bear fruit. But you can rejuvenate it enough to diminish decay, to slow it, to bring it into balance, to where it's not causing a trickle down or a domino effect of multiple systems in your body to shut down. I've been saying this so long that some days I wonder whether it's worthwhile to continue to say. Finally, dozens of other people that I see on a regular basis, thanks to social media, are saying the same thing. The body is an amazing, amazing thing. There's no words to describe how phenomenal and how captivating the processes are of this collection of cells. If you're curious, I invite you to dig a little deeper. There are so many resources out that I've taken advantage of over decades since the early 90s that are still available, and there's several more since then that have been published that can really help you get to the root of what's going on. I will tell you that nearly every instance in my experience, not my personal experience because I've not taken prescription drugs, but in witnessing of others and in working with clients for several years, is that there is no situation that has a net positive for long-term prescription drugs, pharmaceuticals, not any, not SSRIs, not statins, not blood thinners, not any of them. If you're on one of those, there is hope and there is a path to finding out how to manage without them. They will cause cumulative effects down the road that will not be manageable. I heard a statistic not too long ago that the average 60-year-old in the United States is on 5 prescription drugs. And there is no bewilderment to that because one begets another, begets another. You cannot chase symptoms. Western medicine has proven and continues to show their desire to, with the end being profit for them. But there is someone who pays the price, and it's far greater than any monetary price. Get to know your own body. If you have to, make a list of symptoms or things that are going on that you'd like to look into or know the reason for them. It is not normal to have blurry vision. It's not normal to be bloated, to have gas, in fact. As common as it may be talked about or joked about, it's actually not. It could be a number of things, but it is a communication with you to let you know that something's not working optimally. Whether you're 50, 60, or 80, it's actually not normal to have pain in your hips or your joints or your fingers. It's not normal to have cold fingers or toes. When I say normal, I'm referring to perfect cellular construction, DNA on a genomics, genetic level, right? We all have methylation issues. We all have mutated genes, if you will. If you don't know what they are, it makes it really difficult for you to determine what that root cause is, what that root communication is. And nobody else can tell you. If you don't have your labs done, I could guess. We've already experienced where that goes. But there are tests and diagnostics and assessments out now that just were not readily available to the public even 5-10 years ago. Knowing your DNA sequencing, knowing your genetic makeup, your genome can be invaluable. I will say I've had a number of tests over the last couple of years, but when I had my blood work done, all my biomarkers and true age, and tested my metabolism, my cardiovascular, and even the length of my telomeres. When I've had this done, I will say some is just really interesting. Some of the information's interesting. Oh, makes sense. And some was fascinating. Some of the information was fascinating. The results showed me what I figured out on my own over the course of about 27 years. Had I had this test and I had my DNA assessed 25 years ago, I have no idea where I would be on my journey now, but I know I would have fast-tracked it by a couple decades. So while I talk a lot about senior years, 50s, 60s, 70s, I think it's because that's the last call, right? There's still opportunity to really live the next 3-4 decades of your life pain-free or very little and really thrive. But I also say it for the teenagers and the 20 and 30-year-olds that you can have this test done that maps your DNA sequencing, and you only have to have it done once because you're never going to change your genes. And there's some real insight as to why you may behave a certain way, why snacking is difficult for you to let go of, or why it's never been your crux, why you may have painful periods and why you may not, why you are good at following through with things. And some of you find real challenge at that. To some, it comes naturally. That may be genetics. And some, it seems almost impossible. That may be genetics. Now, that's not that those are my genes and I'm stuck with them. Testing for your genomes allows you to supplement in areas that you know you have a propensity one way or the other, that you have a suboptimal gene. I don't know how you would have known that otherwise. And I have tested with 4 different companies now. Gotta say, not overly impressed with any of them. This is early testing at a vast level. I mean, they're testing for billions of blood markers, right? Some are better than others. And I think as time goes on, that'll only improve. But for $100, $300, $500 once in your life, there are some real diagnostic measures that you can take to even the playing field, to give yourself a chance at living optimally. If there were something that could tell you why you do the things you do or where you may be more vulnerable, wouldn't you want to know that? It's one piece of the puzzle. You still have to do a lot of the work daily. And the truth is, some things that have come up in my DNA testing, I have trained myself out of or into a deeper discipline. And maybe without that discipline, I would have fallen prey to any one of the biofactors or biomarkers I'm referencing, yet I haven't. So it's not the end all be all, but if you have a few of the most common methylation issues, you could seriously benefit from knowing that you have them, and for optimizing your health, knowing how you can supplement for them and in which way. It's very precise. There's nothing generic about testing your genes because they are yours. They could be very different from a direct sibling, maybe not a twin, maybe you have very similar answers or similar results, but they're very different from siblings to parents to cousins. It's pretty specific. You are very unique. And I think it's important that you know some things before taking other people's advice. The caveat to that is there are some things that just absolutely help everyone across the board. And that is where my stable table originated. There is no one that doesn't benefit from adequate hydration. No one that doesn't benefit from daily movement. Now, that's a big spectrum of what that could look like, yet it exists. There's not anyone who doesn't benefit from eating whole foods. Some people have to have them pureed. And there are some whole foods that some people don't digest. Brussels sprouts are not good for everyone. Neither is citrus. Some people don't metabolize certain foods and digest certain foods well. That's okay. But whole foods are beneficial to everyone. And quality sleep, it's essential. That's why my stable table is where you start. It helps you to build awareness around what might not be working and build awareness about what is working. And knowing the other things are just pieces of the puzzle that you get to put in place in order to give yourself a complete picture of what's going on. Now, if you're listening today, you got any benefit, you know somebody who may get benefit from hearing what I've said, please do share the episode. But if you are hydrating, you're drinking half your body weight in ounces in a good quality water, if you are moving every hour of the day that you're awake, you're doing at least a couple minutes of movement. Maybe some of that is high intensity, maybe some is stretching, but you are in your body actively each and every hour. If you are eating whole foods and if you have a great sleep routine and you're getting 6.5 to 8 hours of sleep, as in you're in bed 8 to 10 hours every night and waking up refreshed, something still is missing, this is an opportunity to go a little deeper. If you're not doing those 4 main things, and then also in addition to that, working on your mindset, staying positive, monitoring and auditing who you're spending time with, reading, journaling, being grateful, stating your blessings, spending time in nature or with pets. If you're doing all those things and something's still missing, something's quite off, but you can't put your finger on it, it may be the answer for you. If you're not doing those things and you feel like something's off, do those things. Those are the base level. That is your foundation. And to me, after working with tens of thousands of people in over 150 industries, I can say unequivocally that in order to manage your state, which is really where we're at, this is a daily practice for me. It's a daily practice for anyone who's being honest. To manage your emotions on a daily basis, you must have a certain degree of these 4 wellness pillars in control. You just cannot manage your emotions and your state consistently if you are not hydrated, if you are not moving, if you are not eating well, and if you are not sleeping well. It just won't happen. You might get a good week, you might get a good half day, you might get a month. I'd be surprised at that, but you cannot consistently perform, consistently show up for yourself, for your loved ones, for your community, for the world at large. You cannot do that consistently, in integrity, authentically, if you do not have your stable table under control, like in check. So if you have any questions, you have any feedback about today's session or any other episode, feel free to join our wellness community. It's by text. You can text the word yes to 206-483-2960. There is no charge for that. You feel free to leave a comment below if you're on YouTube or if you have the ability to. And again, if you found some insight in it, let me know. Share it with a friend or loved one. I hope that for those of you that it resonated with, that you take action. I love the Walt Whitman quote about being curious, not judgmental. It's never too soon, never too late to jump on the self-care bandwagon. Don't beat yourself up. Just take action towards it. When it is a compelling commitment of yours, I guarantee you it will be the most interesting journey, the most amazing ride you'll ever take, because it just never ends. There's something new every day that's fascinating and of interest, and something that you can really sink your teeth into. And it's something no one can take away from you because it's just about you. And it benefits not only you, but it does definitely benefit you. Benefits you and everyone around you. But it's empowering. It is a confidence builder and a competence builder, because even some Harvard educated 7-degree specialist cannot do what you can do. No rocket scientist, nobody at the top of NASA or working in any lab anywhere can perform the things that you can do with your body. It's just all you. That's what makes it great. It does require you take responsibility. I save that till the last because that's where everybody drops off. Nobody can do it for you. I can help support you in any way possible, but only you can do it. And I think that's what makes it most exciting for me, is that only I can do this on my journey. I got nothing else. Not today. I wish you well. And until next time, stay curious. Be awesome. Thank you so much for listening today. If you feel any part of this episode resonated with you, then please consider sharing it with a friend who may also find value in it. And remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And before you go, did you know we have a fantastic free text community? If you want more bite-sized health hacks and reminders delivered directly to your phone, absolutely free, then text keyword YES to 206-483-2960. Again, that's keyword YES to 206-483-2960. And we'll see you on the inside.